Number 1. Define aquaculture. The term aquaculture broadly refers to the cultivations and aquatic organism in controlled aquatic environment for any commercial, recreational, or public purpose. 2. Compare farming the water to farming the land. Aquaculture or farming in water is the aquatic equivalent of agriculture or farming on land. Defined broadly, agriculture include farming but animals, husbandry, and plants, agronomy, horticulture, and forestry in part. Similarly, aquaculture cover the farming of both animals including crustaceans, finfish, and mollusks, and plant including seaweeds and freshwater microphytes, while agriculture is predominantly based on use of freshwater. Aquaculture offer in both inland freshwater and coastal brackish water seawater areas. Number 3. Explain the difference between phytoplankton, zooplankton. Phytoplankton are tiny drifting plants that photosynthesis their own food. Green algae that you see on the surface of bodies of water are a good example. Phytoplankton produce much oxygen for our atmosphere. Zooplankton are tiny drifting animals that eat plant and animals and decaying matter for their food. The krill that giant whales filter out of seawater are a good examples. Zooplankton have species that have the largest biomass of any species on Earth. Number 4. Explain the differences between mollusks and crustaceans. Crustaceans are aquatic animals that have joint legs, a hard shell, and no backbone, such as a crab, crayfish, lobster, prawn, and shrimp mass. Mollusks have a hinged two-part shell and include clams, mussels, oyster, and scallops, as well as various types of octopus, snail, and squid. Using specific plants and animals, describing a polyculture system. Polyculture is the practice of growing more than crop species in the same space at the same time. In doing this, polyculture attempt to mimic the diversity of natural ecosystem. Polycultural is the opposite of monoculture, in which only one plant or animal species is cultivated together. Polyculture can improve control of some pests, feeds, and diseases while reducing the need for pesticide. Number 6. In what ways do aquatic animals save energy compared to terrestrial animal? Terrestrial animal, land-based and animal including mammals and reptiles, can be in water, and some utilize it as a way to hunt but do not need to live in water. Dog, cats, humans, snakes. Aquatical animals, water-based animals including fish and some mammals, require living in water to survive, whilst dolphins, sharks, freshwater fish like trout. Number 7. Identify 6 factors to consider in selecting a species for possible aquaculture site. Some local species in Aurora. Number 1. Desirable characteristic of aquaculture organisms: fast growth, short food chain, efficient conversion of food, ready acceptance of compounded feeds, good table quality, disease resistance, ease of breeding, incompatibility, early maturation, high fecundity, tolerance to a wide range of environmental parameters, etc. Number 2. Commonly culture organisms: fishes, crustaceans, and mollusks. Other culture organisms: seaweeds, frogs, crocodiles, and turtles. Number 3. Biological features or commonly culture: fishes, crustaceans, and mollusks. Tolerance limits of salinity, temperatures, and oxygen tensions, growth rates, and yields in different types of cultures, breeding habits, feeding habits, and geographic distribution. Number 4. Criteria for selection of species for culture: objectives of cultures, geography, and climate consideration, cultural qualities of the organism, consumer acceptance, and marketability, cost of productions, domestic consumptions, viruses export. Number 5, indigenous versus exotic species. Condition for introduction of exotic species or strains, procedure for deciding on introduction and transplantation, precaution to prevent adverse effect on local fauna and flora and the spread of infection. Number 6, a selection of strain of cultivated species for favorable characters, growth, food conversion, shape and body conformation, resistant to disease, tolerance of wide fluctuation in environmental factor, meat quality, etc. Use of hybridization techniques for obtaining superior stain and monosex progeny. Number 8. Give an example of how morphology can affect the culture techniques and aquaculturist choices. Number 9. Briefly describe how gills work. Gills. Gills are branching organs located on the side of fish heads that have many small blood vessels called capillaries, and gills work by the fish opens its mouth, water run over the gills, and blood in the capillaries pick up oxygen that dissolve in the water. Number 10. Define marketing and describe a marketing plan. Marketing is the activity set of institutions and process for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customer, clients, partner, and society at a large. A marketing plan is an operational document that outlines an advertising strategy that an organization will implement to generate leads and reach its target market. Number 11. Based on the states of the world fisheries and aquaculture 2022 and Philippines Fisheries Profile 2020. Summarize and explain the current scenario of the world aquaculture industry and the Philippines aquaculture industry, current trend in the industry, problem and issues, and where do we go from here, state of the aquaculture industry during the pandemic. Fisheries and aquaculture provide nutritious food for hundreds of millions of people around the world and livelihood for over 100% of the world population. All aspects of fish supply chains are strongly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, with job, income, and food insecurity at risk. Government and industry response are needed to address two immediate economic and social hardship that the crisis is provoking in the fish sector. Governments also need to maintain long-term ambition for protecting natural resources and ecosystem and the viability of fisheries, economics, equity, and environmental consideration all points to similar best practice supporting the income of those most in need rather than subsiding input of fishing effort and ensuring that evidence-based management remains in place and is enforced. Transparency in policy response will help build trust in the future of fish value chains and market and enable learning from the crisis to improve the sustainable and resilience of fisheries and aquaculture. Number 12. Explain the concept of blue revolution. Cite some example and your thought about it. Pros and cons. The rapid increase the aquaculture production in the 1990s led to suggestion that aquaculture was undergoing blue revolution that would transform the productivity of marine and other aquatic environment with new technology. The blue revolution refers to the significant growth and intensification of global aquaculture production, domestication, and farming of fish, shellfish, and aquatic plants. Number 13. Explain the difference between extensive, semi-intensive, and intensive culture system. Extensive system use low stocking densities and no supplemental feeding. Also, fertilization may be done to stimulate the growth and production of natural food in the water. Semi-intensive farming system account for about 70% of fish and crustacean aquaculture production in the tropics, employing semi-intensive feeding method ranging from the use of low cost complete diet feeding strategies. Intensive culture uses very high densities of culture organism and is totally dependent on artificial formulated feeds, but system use small pond compartment of up to 1 in size for ease of management. Number 14. Explain the difference between static open, semi-closed, and recirculating closed system. Make a SWOT analysis about each topic. Number 15. Explain the requirements for a suitable aquaculture species. Species that school and swim near the surface or age are ideal as are species that can be readily trained to feed at a particular area. Species that are very flighty or secretive are usually less suitable for aquaculture. Number 16. Explain the critical consideration in terms of site selection and development of a fish pond. The critical consideration in terms of site selection and development of a fish pond or water supply, water quality, climate, hydrological characteristic, soil characteristic, and land. Number 17. Explain the different aquaculture systems. SWOT analysis all of the aquaculture system. The different aquaculture system is water-based system, cage and pen, inshore, offshore, land-based system, rain-farmed, irrigated, or flow-through system, tank and raceway. Recycling system, high control, enclosed system, more open and pond circulation. Number 18. Explain how a circulating system works. What are the critical things to be considered and maintained? From the outlet of the tank of the water flow to a mechanical filter and further on a biological filter before it is accreted and strip or carbon dioxide and returned to the fish tank.